Hey, let me help you get better at arguing on the internet, but in a friendly way. Let's talk about rhetoric. So, the Greeks loved to argue, but again, it was about seeking truth, so they did this with their friends. And they wanted to get to the point where arguments made sense and could meaningfully be resolved. So they did some breakdown of all of the elements of a successful argument. There's three main elements to an argument: logos, or the text, and whether or not you've written a reasoned argument, the values and beliefs of the audience, which are not present in the text but are a key element of the argument itself, and the credibility of the writer. If I got an argument that has a lot of good reasons, but it goes against the values and beliefs of the audience, they're not going to accept it. If I got an argument with a lot of good reasons, and the audience believes in these things, but I'm not credible, the argument isn't going to work. If my argument goes with the values and beliefs of the audience, and I'm credible, but it's not a logical argument, the argument won't work. So let's analyze this comment. For me, the thesis is not clear and specific in this comment. I'm not sure what you're actually arguing. The big thing though is it's not supported by strong reasons. There's not a lot of evidence claims made here. And for stuff like consciousness, what we're really looking for is evidence, right? People have a lot of beliefs, and you can assert those beliefs, and that's fine. It's just not going to really sway anyone unless you have credible evidence or you have a logical argument. Qualifications are not super relevant here on TikTok, in a comment especially. I will say you do obviously show a lot of respect for multiple viewpoints, so that's definitely several points in your favor. Without some sources or some things that you've read that explain to me how you're supporting these ideas and why, it's hard for me to take them in. Your tone is great though. I also like your examples and details. Metaphor of fire is a pretty vivid metaphor for consciousness, and it appeals to the values of the general TikTok audience, or at least the one I tend to attract. So while your ethos and pathos are in order, it's really more the logical elements of your argument that haven't swayed me towards anything, also the clarity of your thesis. This is not really me saying that your claim is wrong or right or anything, actually. Nerds forget about this fallacy all the time. Just because someone knows something intuitively but can't make a logical argument doesn't mean that the argument is wrong. It just means that they're not equipped to make that logical argument at this time, which is not a big deal. When we say that appeal to emotion is not a valid logical argument, this is what we're talking about. Appeal to emotion is considered a logical fallacy. However, it's a valid element of your pathos element of your argument. So appealing to emotion is fine. It just doesn't support the logos. It supports the pathos, which is still important. This website will help you avoid logical fallacies. Remember, you gotta have all three. People like to pick one of these and say that it's the most important to them. But if you want to have an argument that appeals to everyone, you have to get all three. Remember, credibility is not logic. It's just an element of your argument. Just like credibility is not part of logic, it is a logical fallacy to rely solely on credibility as well. Whenever I bring up intelligence or consciousness, a lot of people want to move the goalpost as far out as they can. This is the most common logical fallacy I see in the comments, is, well, it's not this because it's not, and I have decided that it must have more checkboxes checked. Another way to move the goalposts is to use ambiguity. And so, because things like consciousness are not well defined or have a phenomenological explanation, people use that ambiguity to claim that something is not possible or cannot happen, especially when we're talking about machine consciousness. Alright, now go make friends on the internet by arguing with them.